Hello everyone, and welcome to a review by Emily Illustrator. Today we are going to be reviewing the Arteza Premium White Gel Pens. Recently there's been a lot of talk about these in the coloring community and has raised a lot of curiosity. So we are going to take a look at them today and kind of see how they are, see how they work with a coloring page, and go from there. So it comes in this box here. It comes in 3 different sizes, fine, medium, and bold. You can see here it's got the 0.6, 0.8, and 1.0. So we're going to go ahead and take these out. Just pops open the top here. And inside you've got all 12 gel pens. So like I said, there should be 3 different sizes. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 0.8. We have 1, 2, 3 of the 0.6, and so we've got 3 of the 0.6, we've got 4 of the 1.0, and we've got 5 of the 0.8. So it's a nice variety of sizes of pens. What we're going to go ahead and do now is I have got this nice piece of black cardstock, and we are going to test out the width on all of these and see how they are. Okay, so first up we have the 0.6. Pretty nice solid lines, not a lot of splitting down the middle. And it wasn't dry coming out of the box initially either, so it really wasn't anything I had to work at. Next we have the 0.8. Definitely makes it so you have a width for every type of line you're going for. And then we have the 1.0. I like how bright white you get with that nice thick line. So the ink flows pretty well. I'm not seeing any skipping of any kind. So what we're going to test next is we are going to pull out a work in progress that I have from a Johanna Basford page. And we're going to try covering up some of the white lines, adding some white highlights on top of the colored pencil to see how it works with it. This page is a work in progress that I started a while ago. So we're going to grab our 0.6, we're going to grab the 1.0, and we are going to grab a 0.8, and we are going to try and cover some of these dark lines, and then we're also going to try and add some highlights on top of these. So we're going to start with the 0.6, and we're going to see how well it covers these lines. You're actually getting a fair amount of coverage. Yeah, that's actually really nice. The real trick will be once it dries, how does it handle pencil on top of it? And that's just one layer of the white. And this is the smallest, the 0.6. Yeah, that's pretty nice. All right, let's go ahead and grab the 0.8, which should have the same effect. There we go, that's pretty nice. And then as soon as this dries here, we're going to be putting another layer on top of this to see if going over it again like scrapes away the ink. Because sometimes when you layer on with the gel pens that have the metal nibs, it will scrape away the previous white line, which kind of defeats the purpose. Alright, so this is the 1.0 size. That's actually really nice as well. Alright, let's see. That first one is dried. We're just going to take the 1.0 and we're going to see if we can do another layer of white on this previous one. Okay, so it did scrape away a tiny bit, but I might have been pressing too hard, so I'm just kind of skating it across the top. So that is the first one. Now we'll go over the second one. Okay. And just in case, I'm going to go ahead and try pressing a little bit harder this time, just in case that first one was a fluke. And yeah, I'm putting more pressure down on the paper and it doesn't seem to be lifting up the previous white line, so that's actually really nice. This one's had time to dry now. Okay, this one's not totally dry, so it is picking up a little bit. So I will say that if you are going to do multiple layers of white, definitely let it dry completely in between, for sure. But in general, that's just 2 layers right there, and that is some incredible coverage. We're going to let it dry and then we'll see how pencil goes over the top. In the meantime, let's move on over to this blue flower here and let's see how well it does over the top. You can see actually previously I've already added a little bit of white gel pen. I don't recall, I want to say that I used the Milky Pop white gel pen, but we're going to go ahead and try it with these Arteza ones now. There we go. They're actually laying really nice on top. We'll see how bright white it still is after it dries. But this is definitely encouraging. We'll try putting some new white over that previous white that I already put down. There we go. All right, let's wait for these to dry now, okay? So as I was testing it to see if it was dry, I realized it does something interesting. I was rubbing my fingers on it to see if they were dry or not, and I got this almost white powder that was on them. And it's the same thing, like here. Here's a clean finger here over little highlights here, and you get just the tiniest little bit of white powder on them. So I'm not entirely sure what's in them that causes that. I don't know how it would affect, like here, I'll wipe my, it's not really coming off, but I'm not quite sure how it affects. And I will say, rubbing my hand on it, it is causing it to come up a little bit, which is interesting. It had plenty of time to dry. So that's something to take into account. Interesting. All right, so we're going to go ahead and try and cover this again, and then we will try and add color on top. But if it's coming off just by gently rubbing it, it does make me wonder, and that was just with the 2 layers of gel pen. It does make me wonder how it could handle pencil on top. Now, I know a lot of you will just use white for highlights. I do that a lot myself, but there are those of us that also like to cover up black lines sometimes to get a little bit more of a realistic image on it. So we're going to let this dry again, and we will go ahead and try with some of our pencils. And actually, while we're waiting for that to dry, I want to test this out. If it's not just the coloring page, we're going to test this out on black paper too, and we'll see if this also smears. So we're going to, and this is just the 1.0. Okay. And we are just going to add some white to here so that in a moment when this dries, we can just gently rub our hand across. And you know what we'll do too? We're going to slide this over and we are going to grab our Posca pen. This is my current pen that I use for a lot of my white highlights. I really enjoy it. We are going to take some, we're going to put it over here and we'll do a similar test. Okay, so this is the white Posca. Okay, so we're going to let both of these dry. So this is the Posca. Okay, and this one on the left here is the Arteza. Okay, so we're going to let those dry for a second. Alright, we've checked that they're dry. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do, I've got clean hands now. We're going to go ahead and rub our hands on the Posca and see what happens. Nothing on the hands. We're going to go ahead and check the Arteza now, because again, maybe this was the coloring page and not the paper. Okay, so not quite as much on my hands as before. There is a little bit, and you can definitely see the smearing across. Like here, we can go and rub the Posca again. Nothing here. So I'll say this, the Arteza does offer really good coverage, but if it's rubbing off, that's going to make it a little bit difficult down the line. So I tested it out on this one here, and I was actually able to rub the highlights directly off the blue flower. But this is dried now, so we're going to go ahead and try some pencil on top. Okay, so I've got two pencils we're going to try. I've got a Prussian green Prismacolor, which is generally known as a softer lead pencil. And then I have the Polychromos, and this is Juniper green, and this is an oil-based pencil, so it's going to be a little bit harder. So we're going to go ahead and try, pressing a little bit harder, pressing a little bit softer, and kind of see what happens. So this is the Prismacolor, and I'm going lightly here, and sadly it's coming straight up. A little bit harder, and it came completely up. And that's with the softer lead one. So let's go ahead and try it with the Polychromos over on this side. And as you can see, it's completely uncovering the white on that side, which is a little disappointing. So here is what I'm going to say about these after having kind of tested them a little bit. I will say that on highlights, I would say that it's a very good pen. It's very opaque, no, breaking the line as you're going. However, you're going to want to make sure that, like, if you're working from, work left to right, do your highlights. Like, you imagine a gel pen, like if it was still wet on the page, you wouldn't want to smear it. So I would say definitely always save your highlights for last, and try not to rub your hand across the top of them, because you could just rub the highlights directly off. These were done, the highlights that are already on the page were done with a different pencil, but for this one in particular, it did rub right off the blue flower. The best that I can describe them in comparison to something like the Posca pen is these almost have, in their dried state, they almost have a little bit of a chalkier feel. They're lacking, they're more matte, and they seem to be lacking in that kind of glossy finish that's on the top. So they are good for solid, non-broken lines. You've got a huge variety. It comes in a whole box, and they're highly affordable, and they work fantastically for your highlights. But if you are looking to get these for covering lines so that you can color on top, I don't know that these would be the gel pens for them. So save your highlights for last. Try not to run your hand back over them, but for highlights, these would work really, really well. Well, that's everything I have for you today for these gel pens. I always like to make sure that I'm giving you my honest and true opinion of the gel pens. I will say I think I still prefer my Posca just because of the versatility of it, but for highlights, they are very, very nice. So be sure to check the description below for all the links and everything that you need. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye!